Superhero TV shows. It seems that at a certain point in the we've just been getting an absolute buttload of them. Even back in the 60s to 90s, we were having some interesting shows to say the least.
When the machine started, the mighty crime smashers traveled to the past to gather the Infinity Stones. Give Hulk stone or Hulk smashes puny old man.
It's quite obvious that we're getting a lot of them nowadays. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. I mean, some of these shows are absolutely great. But if I were to pinpoint one of the best superhero shows we've gotten in the last few years, it would be Invincible started off as a very small comic book series that wouldn't be quite on the same level as Marvel or DC, at least not yet. At first, it was just any superhero comic, but then once Omni-Man truly started to reveal himself as an evil Superman archetype, that's when the sales really started to peak. But it was the Prime Video show that truly took Invincible and made it a cult classic, an iconic superhero franchise that people will remember for a long time. And we have had a total of 4 seasons up until now, and this intro is already long enough, so I'll make this quick. I'm going to go through all 4 seasons and rank them based on a couple categories, determining what each season does best and what I think is the worst of the bunch and what I truly think is the peak. Keep in mind, I think that the entire show is really good, and I love a lot about it, but this is sort of just for fun. So, yeah, I will be ranking these based on a few categories, such as characters, super important, and a crucial aspect of what makes this show so important to me. Action scenes are an extreme necessity. I mean, they make up a huge part of the runtime and are essential for some awesome character moments and build up. And the third thing is writing. I want the characters to feel important or these events to feel impactful or how relationships work. The writing has to make it all fit in and feel important. All of these categories will be ranked on a scale of 1 to 10. Now, if you don't want spoilers for any of the seasons you haven't watched, then I'll put little times on the side somewhere or in the video so you know where to stop and, finish the show before you continue watching this amazing video. But without further ado, let's dive in. Season 1 is honestly a great introduction to the show, and not only adapts the comics and improves upon them, but also delivers something for it to stand on its own 2 feet. And yeah, we have to talk about characters first thing. And Season 1 is honestly a pretty solid start to the characters. They're all really likable and enjoyable to watch. And even though they would get a lot more development later on, we still get a lot of characters' charm in this first season. Though, admittedly, Omni-Man takes the crown for just being the best part of this show in terms of a character. I mean, the villain is always such an important part of the show because it's half of what makes up a superhero product. I mean, we couldn't tell if he was good or bad. We didn't know what to think, and we didn't know what was going on. It was so awesome. Though, admittedly, if I were to pinpoint a weak link in the characters is Mark and Amber. Amber is honestly just the Mary Jane of this universe. And she does get somewhat better in Season 2, but to be completely honest, she's just a terrible person, especially towards Mark. Apparently, she knew Mark was a superhero, despite that has been giving so much crap to him, and is basically just a horrible girlfriend in terms of understanding what he's going through. And then there's Mark. I think Mark's genuinely really likable in the later seasons, but here I just found him kind of annoying on occasion and generic. This isn't at all to offend the voice actor Stephen Young. I love what he did with Invincible, but again, it was in the later seasons where I really liked the character. But here it's a bit on the weaker end. So, in terms of characters, season 1 gets a solid 8 out of 10. Not perfect, but not bad at all. Then, when it comes to the writing, yeah, this is really good. I mean, the whole setup for Omni Man being the villain is just done so well. How the characters are reacting to it, and how it affects everyone's relationships, especially later down the line. And it just feels like there's an emotional impact with that. And even other plot lines feel enjoyable, like Mark learning to become a hero with his dad and with the teen team. It's all really enjoyable stuff here. Not a lot of the episodes feel like they have all that much filler. There's all somewhat of an importance to them all, even if the main focus is Omni Man, which again is the most awesomely written part. Though I wouldn't call it perfect because this whole teen drama thing was a nightmare to go through on my first, second, and any watch ever. So that docks it a couple points. But still, the writing is a solid 8 out of 10. It was still so enjoyable to go through, despite Amber and Mark's relationship. God! And then, of course, there's the action scenes. Oh my god, is this the absolute best part? I mean, just for the finale alone. And even smaller fights have their fair share of cool moments or funny quips. So, honestly, I just have to give this a solid 9 out of 10. That means that season 1 earns a total of 25 out of 30, a very good score this early on. And now we move on to season 2. Now, season 2, as a follow up to season 1, is kind of interesting because, on one hand, it brings on a couple minor improvements, but also some minor downgrades. So, when people talk about the comparison with season 1 and 2, it's like comparing an apple and an orange, but the orange is like 100 times bigger. Character wise, I do think it has some decent improvements. I mean, side characters like Debbie and Cecil and Rexplode, Eve have become more likable over time, and it just feels important to build that up. And Mark especially became more appealing to me. Now I feel like he's more relatable in the sense. I think it really hits its stride in season 3 and 4, but season 2 was honestly a great start since I actually gave a crap about Mark and found him less of an annoyance and more of a joy to watch. I mean, it's not by much, but it's an improvement, and that is a great sign. Though admittedly there are some weak aspects. That being A, the lack of Omni-Man, and B, of course I have to talk about the villain, Angstrom. Angstrom to me is just kind of an uninteresting or underwhelming villain. He's just a man who can travel through the multiverse, who's insane and honestly not as cool, intimidating as other villains, especially compared to Omni Man. It's not a fair fight. Plus, Amber is still here, which no one wanted her back. No one wanted her in season 2 at all. Honestly, a solid 8 out of 10. A great way to improve upon some old characters, though admittedly a couple of the new ones are a little underwhelming. Then when it comes to the writing, I feel like it's a bit worse than before. Even if Angstrom isn't a great villain, the fact is that you barely get to see him or he really gets any build up or anything to make him memorable. Like, he's in the first episode, then 2 post-credit scenes that have nothing to do with what we saw in the episode or his big master plan. I guess this was kind of like Mark's coming of age story, though I don't think it's as good as his training arc with the looming threat of Omni-Man. Like, it just doesn't click as well. It's not bad. I do think that there's some absolutely solid stories here, but they kind of pale in comparison to some of the later stuff. So I'm going to give it a solid 7 out of 10. Not perfect, but definitely not bad. And then when it comes to the action scenes, again, it's taken a minor hit. Since my main gripe with the action is that when we really get it, there isn't all that much intensity to it or awe-inspiring moments. The action scenes don't really have a lot of oomph to them. They don't really have that kind of kick you need to make them impactful. But hey, I still think that the action scenes we did get, there are a couple of solid ones, but like not even close to season 1. So I kind of feel like a 7 out of 10 is worthy here as well. This overall gives it a score of 22 out of 30. Not a bad score to say the least, but not as good as season 1. But let's see how this compares to season 3. Now, full transparency, my favorite season by far is season 3, but even other people agree and think it was one of the best hands down of the show. But why don't we take a closer look? Starting with characters, and yeah, it's 9 out of 10, not even close. Like, not even close. Genuinely, it does so much for the show that I truly appreciate. Like, Mark is probably at his most likable, I'd say, since when I watched it, I actually felt he was more relatable. And despite his powers, was still human deep down, and that's what really made me resonate with him more. Also, season 3 fixes the teen drama garbage we had to deal with in season 1 and 2. And instead of Amber, we have Eve, who is an understanding, kind girlfriend who's willing to help Mark and get him through all of his problems and reciprocate when he does it for her. What might that be? Oh, yeah, a good relationship. And damn, did they do a good job. Because not only are they able to actually understand each other, but it's such a meaningful connection that we get a good bit of time with that just manages to develop really well and brings a lot onto the table. Even side characters like Debbie, Cecil, or Oliver, by simply taking the characters and giving them time to have their moments or development, it makes some of these side characters just as enjoyable as the main cast. Debbie is trying to find a life for herself and be happy, and Cecil is simply trying to protect the world by any means necessary, even if that means betraying the trust of everyone around him. Oliver is trying his best, but is kind of an Omni-Man Jr. at first. And it all accumulates to the characters just being so damn good. Even just side characters. We get stuff with Robot and Monster Girl, which is nice. Or Rexplode and Ray. I never thought Rexplode would be one of the more loved characters, considering at first he seemed like a complete ass, but ended up being one of the characters I was rooting for, and oh my god, how did they manage to make me sad when he died? Then there was Conquest. Oh my god, did this guy become popular like instantly? And I don't blame anyone for saying that he's probably their favorite character or even just favorite villain. I mean, he has such an iconic amount of memes only with the finale and then even more stuff in season 4, which just makes this character so interesting how he immediately clicked with everyone and just became such an intimidating threat and probably the most intimidating out of any Viltrumite we've seen yet. And then when it comes to the writing, this just blends so well. So many of the episodes are so memorable and easily earn it a 10 out of 10. Again, the finale is done super well, but even stuff like the Invincible War or All I Can Say Is I'm Sorry, they're just so good. Or even in the earlier episodes, like season 2, where we get Cecil's backstory and the big betrayal, it's like it just works so well. I mean, we have like the Invincible War, Mark time traveling, or training Oliver. It just feels important, even though it's not tied to the fact that Mark is gonna fight Conquest at the end. Because again, that's not the main focus of season 3. It's meant to build upon the characters and set up important plot points for later. And something I really liked especially was the writing for Powerplex. It was such an emotional episode that by far makes it my favorite in a landslide. It didn't even need awesome action scenes. It didn't even need some funny jokes or memes. It just had so much raw emotion, which drove this episode into my top 5 episodes of the whole show. And outside of episode 5, which was a little bit underwhelming compared to everything else, at the very least, this season managed to deliver some of the most impactful moments in the whole show. And then there's the action scenes. Now, this is kind of where the show is either so good it manages to outclass season 1, but at the same time has action scenes that are kind of worse than anything we've seen before, even season 2. It's complicated. Basically, the animation wasn't exactly spread evenly, and that kind of applies to the action scenes. I mean, we have the Invincible War and Conquest at the final part of the season, but in the earlier, like, 3 quarters, there's nothing quite as impactful or as visually impressive. I'm not saying they're bad, not at all. I'm not trying to say that the animation is bad. I mean, I'm not saying that they're not dynamic or cool or well done. It's just some fight scenes were better than others, which doesn't necessarily mean they're bad. It just means some are going to be astounding and watched over and over again because of how good they are, and then some are going to be gone and treated like an afterthought. So all around, I'd have to give it a 8 out of 10. I do not want to discredit the fight scenes at all because, again, the second half of the season manages to make up for it really well. But I do think that the earlier first half is a little underwhelming, so I am going to knock it a couple points. All around, giving it a score of 27 out of 30. One of the best by far. And it's going to be hard to top it, but let's see how season 4 goes up against it. Now, this is kind of hard to talk about since I have no idea what other people think of this season, but honestly, that's probably a good thing because it means I can form my own opinion without the influence of anyone else. So I'm just going to go out and say it. The action here is not that great. Like, obviously, there was a minor dip from season 1 to 2, and even though 3 was a bit imbalanced, it still had some awesome stuff. But here, none of the action is memorable, or at least nothing that strikes me as good as previous ones. You see, a lot of the fights in the second half of season 4 take place in space, and outside of the one fight, which is Conquest, all of them are in space and they have this like floaty vibe to them where there's not really that much impact. And that might be due to a couple of things, but mostly sound and animation. None of them feel like they're strong. It feels like they're barely putting in any effort. And it's because A, none of them are being flung into buildings, and B, because there's no sound in space. Which also kind of makes sense because if they tried talking in space, no one would hear them. So they have like this telepathic thing going on, and it just means there's a lot of shots of them just freeze framed, I guess, not doing anything but technically talking to each other. And it looks really weird for me. Even the fight scenes on Earth feel a little bit barren of any real standout moments. I'm not saying it needs to be perfect, but even season 2 had some good stuff compared to this. So unfortunately, I have to give it a 6 out of 10. It is a bit underwhelming, and outside of the Conquest fight, which is the main saving grace, because it's one of the more impactful fights in the show. But yeah, it's not all too memorable here. And then we get to the writing and characters, and this might just be the most well-written season of the entire show, with some of the most impactful moments, and most important of all, the most fleshed out versions of these characters we've seen yet. First things first, Omni-Man is very well done here. I mean, not only is he humanized, but we also get like his backstory, we see his redemption arc, and it makes him a very interesting character to see him go from psychopathic, world conquering nut job to more of the fatherly figure we thought he was. And plus, the scenes where he tries to apologize to the people on Earth, like Cecil, Art, and Debbie, have some real impact. They're either afraid of him or carrying a lot of justified resentment. Along with that, we also get characters like Oliver getting more development, Mark trying to overcome a bunch of his problems, and Alan the Alien surprisingly gets some decent emotional moments and awesome comedy moments. I mean, this guy's basically the most funny part of the show. And the whole Viltrumite War is so impactful and interesting that I just love it to death. And outside episode 4, which was kind of a waste, honestly, this was one of the best written seasons of the whole show. Just so enjoyable and well executed. It also fixed one of the main issues with the comics, was how Omni-Man basically got forgiven immediately. But in the show here, way different. It took a lot of time for people to forgive him. And like Oliver, it took like 2 whole months, and like he wasn't even there for most of what Omni-Man did. And Debbie and him, I don't even know if that's actually gonna become a thing again. I don't even know if they're gonna be able to be in the same room as each other and not have this like tension. Like, it's done really well. And also, Mark's relationship with Eve is also just so good here. It's such a wholesome relationship to see them just supporting each other through all the shit they have to deal with. It's done so damn well. Now, I gotta be honest, the characters is a solid 10 out of 10. So damn good. And same with the writing, a solid 10 out of 10. It was genuinely fantastic. And even though the action still got a 6, because let's be honest, those 6 points are mostly conquest, that is still leaving it with a score of 26, which is great. Also, this doesn't even have to be said because everyone probably already knows this, but Thrag is a fantastic villain. So well done and executed, and so cool. I mean, he is so much more powerful than any other character we've seen. It's insane. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And finally, the overview. Time to take up all the scores and determine what I would like to call my ranking of each Invincible season. In last place is Season 2, with a total of 22 out of 30. It was not a bad season of Invincible. The problem is that there's just so much about the other seasons that does a better job. Having an amazing villain for one, majority of the episodes feeling impactful and having something to offer, whether it be cool action scenes or important character development. But season 2 is a bit lacking in that area. It feels a bit more underwhelming because there's not really anything that makes it stick out. And with a total of 25 out of 30 is season 1. Despite getting 3rd place, this is still such a solid season with some of the most important moments that has made the show so amazing. I mean, it is by far the one with the most balanced animation, the best memes of the whole bunch, and it was the kickoff to one of my favorite shows ever, so it obviously deserves some high praise. And while I'll admit not every character was perfect, that doesn't disregard anything that the writers or voice actors did. It was still some amazing stuff they made. So naturally, it gets a spot on the podium. Now, it was a very tough call choosing between these last two, but in 2nd place is Season 4. I don't even know how, but this somehow tops Season 1 overall. I mean, oh my god, was this one of the best written seasons of the bunch? Outside of like one episode, they all felt like they had an importance, and some of the best episodes were so damn good. And the character development was off the charts. Almost every character felt likable to me, important, or just straight up awesome. I mean, this was just so damn good. The only problem is the reason it didn't get first place is that the action felt a bit underwhelming. But yeah, season 4 was honestly really good to watch. But now we gotta move on to the number 1 position. The top dog, the best season of the show, season 3. Don't get me wrong, I do love the other seasons of this show, but season 3 to me is just so damn good and so well balanced that it just manages to be the best overall. It had some great action despite the flaws in the earlier bits, and the writing and character development was so good and so well done that it basically was the foundation for season 4 to kick it up a notch. And it was just so well balanced that this is by far my favorite one to rewatch. It has my favorite episodes, some very important moments that impact the show later, and it fixes a lot of the issues from season 2 and even season 1. So, yeah, I think that first place trophy is well deserved. But yeah, that's my opinion of the show. Keep in mind that it is, again, my opinion. But if you do want to share yours respectfully, then you can join my Discord, which is linked in my channel, or you can comment down below and tell me what you think. And also, if you are a absolute mad lad who likes my content, then you have to subscribe and you have to like the video. And it is completely free. You can unsubscribe later if you want. And hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.